Hey everyone, wanted to just give kind of a brief summary of what my eye is showing. So here we've got the tick USC, right? And we've had some pretty significant what we call dealer adjustment bars, right? So, I mean, you could say this was to the upside, just the market reacting, taking advantage of something. This is the RSP, the equal weight S&P 500. But you can see we undid that. So if we were at an area of where we were hedged flat, then something triggered right around 1 o'clock, and it looks like 12:50 Eastern time, and we sold off. And then we get to another consolidation area, which we have to presume, since the market's not doing any action, we have to presume at that time that this is the new hedging platform, the zero, quote unquote, that we believe the dealers are fairly neutral biased. But then obviously something happened, and down we go. Right. So a couple things up here catch my eye. So first of all, this sell-off here is characterized in the filtered cumulative tick. This is presenting orders, sweep orders generally, due to some other analysis I did long ago. But this is an indication of effectively where orders are being presented to the exchanges. And remember, this is the USC, right? The US composite. So this is all exchanges that are out there. This isn't just the ARCX complex. And so the USC is seeing broad-based selling. So we're sending more orders to the exchanges than can be cleared in 1 minute. And that's what the filtered cumulative tick tells us. It tells us how many orders are persisting and to what magnitude. And the greater the magnitude, the lower it either goes up or it goes down, right? So we've been seeing just this risk-off pattern. Then it stabilized for a while, and you can see that here in the new lows, and the new highs didn't really do anything here today. So still some selling coming down, but more or less, I would say, somewhat flat in the CT that you see right here. And then, we started right around, let's see, what is that? Looks like 14:51. So 2:51 Eastern time, we just started seeing risk off. So as I was saying, and as CM just said in the Discord, probably related to the tariffs and things related to that. The point that's important here is that we've sold off quite a bit, and we're continuing as I talk right now. We're continuing to move lower. So one of the questions was, well, how low can we go? Well, one of the ways to look at that is to just take a look and just what's the structure telling us, right? And we know that the structure, for instance, now this was done at 3:20 and it's 3:41, so it's 20 minutes ago. There really is no need to update this, right? Everyone gets wrapped around the axle that they have to, push refresh on this thing every 2 seconds, and you don't need to do that. And the reason you don't need to do that is that this column, unless OPRA or the OCC sends out changes for the day, this column's not going to move. It's not price sensitive, and that's a huge bonus to being able to answer what's coming up here, right? So, we're down here at 58.15 as I'm talking right now. So we've lost this area right here, and we're down in this weaker area. The first thing that I want everyone to be just aware of, there are no calls down here. Right now, of course, there's 0 DTE calls that have transacted, and we're going to go look at those in a second. But the starting point of the day, nobody was positioned down here in terms of long-term calls, right? So nobody months ago or weeks ago or even last week said, I'm going to buy some calls that are down in this area. Why? We haven't been down here. And people do not speculate with in-the-money calls. They speculate with out-of-the-money options. And that's why you see a tremendous amount of out-of-the-money puts down here and very, very little in the way of calls. Now, why is that an important thing? Panic down here is not going to drive us any lower. There's nothing down here to drive us lower. Right? So this is pure speculation that is driving the markets lower. I want everyone to stop and pause here. Panic is not driving this. It's all the greed component of fear and greed, right? And the reason we say that is even if these folks panic, even if you close these long deltas, there's nothing there to contribute to downside moving. Right? I mean, tens and, single digits just don't count. They just don't count at all, right? So what does that mean in the big picture? it means we can go as low as the speculation wants to take us. How do we measure intraday speculation? Well, the easiest way to do that is to go down and take a look at ValU and ValM, ValD. Right? ValD is the distribution of the transactions that are occurring at any one given time. So I'm going to go down to the SPX 0DT ValU ValD channel. It prints every 5 minutes. If you are a gold member or a legendary member, you get to see this, and it's got the full history, 5 minute by 5 minute by 5 minute. And when it populates, it looks like this. Now, this is a lot of noise on this thing, right? This is all day, every 5 minutes, right? So I'm going to scroll down on the right-hand side here, and you can see it says 1541, which is literally 2 minutes ago. So I'm going to double-click on that, and we're going to take a look here, and boom. This is the transaction of the last 5 minutes, and this is where the market is really starting to trigger. So this dotted line right here is the price, 58.14. And if I hover over this, you can see 5,800. You can also see 5,820. When we take a look at the magnitude here, right, we're seeing between, roughly everything's well over 1,000, right, to the downside. And we're seeing some big spikes here. So we don't care necessarily if they're long or they're short. We're just looking for where are people transacting. And so there was a question in the Discord, can we go down to 5,800? Sure. Absolutely. Why? We're getting a tremendous amount of folks who are pounding that strike. Doesn't mean we're going to go to 5,800, but 5,805, 5,810, which would be right here, 15, and then 20. I think this is all in play. And your eye is a really good filter. You can see you've got this kind of distribution that forms around this thing, right? So these are deep in the money, right? All the way up here. These are out of the money puts. Calls to the north, right? Call volume up here. Put volume down here. It's not buying or selling. I don't want anyone to think this is buying or selling. Volume does not tell you buying or selling, right? It doesn't. All it tells us is where market participants are transacting. And what we have observed over a year plus of doing this is that the market does not go where there is no transaction. Well, guess what? We have transactions actually all the way on down here at 57.75, but the big ones that you can see that stand out like a sore thumb are 5,800 as well as 5,820. And we're below that, right? We're at 58.14. So it is completely plausible that we're going to stretch the rubber band down towards here. And then remember, everything above that is going to be in the money if this dotted line shifts to the left. If everything here is in the money, what are those folks? These are 0 DTE folks, and we've got 15 minutes left on the day. They're going to close those babies. We're going to get some form, most likely, of a rally. Is it going to be a short covering rally like we had Friday? Probably not, because we don't have the open interest volume that we had on Friday, and we don't have the volume that we had on Friday. But we could see a spike back up. I would imagine we would come down very, very close, just given that we're transacting all the way on down to 57.75. I could very easily see us touching 5,800, maybe 5,805 before we reverse and these people start monetizing. When we close those puts, that is going to effectively make things better for everybody, and we're going to be in pretty good shape there. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. Now, so that's ValD. That is the distribution. Let's look at ValM. ValM told us a few things a little while ago. So let me open this chart up. ValM measures sentiment, and this dotted line that you see here is where the market, if it continues on the path that it's been on, will basically, and for all intents and purposes, it would close between these. But that's provided market sentiment doesn't change. What started happening right around this area here? We started seeing a pretty significant sell-off, right, as we just talked about. And so you can see the centroids. And remember, the centroids are a measure of the middle of, here's the put distribution, here's the call distribution, right? So the centroid, this little plot that comes up here, this one and this one, are the middle of those distributions, right? Well, they started moving down, and they moved down fairly aggressively, starting right here at 14:50, 2:50 p.m. Eastern time, right? Both of them did. And so we probably had some news come in, calls closing. I'm going to say puts opening. Again, we don't know that definitively from this information, but you can tell prices confirming a move down, right? And we know the SPX of all instruments is heavily under option control. So most likely, boom, and we come on down here, we're opening puts. Now I want everyone just to kind of pause a second and start thinking back. When we hit this line, this was where sentiment averaged throughout the day. And basically when we started losing the line, it's just telling you there's been a major shift in sentiment. That's all it's telling us. It doesn't tell us how far it's going to go. It just tells us that it's a very, very strong change, or we would have remained in the channel. We always, can step back and view this objectively. But in the heat of the moment, your first indication when you hit the Linfit line, whether it be on the put side or up here on the call side, is telling you something has shifted in the market. And if you're on the wrong side of the market, you got to get out of that thing. You're going to get your face ripped off. So in this particular case, it plunged through kind of the projection, the dotted line of where the market was headed just on the steady case that it was on. And sure enough, you can see the centroids are headed down. So the question was, how low can we go? Well, right now, the middle of the mass, the centroid on that 1545, so that's 3:45 p.m., right? 15 minutes before the end of the day, was at 5804. That's telling us that 5804 right in this area is the center strike for this distribution. Super duper close to basically 5800. So again, the question to the member in the Discord, take a look at the centroids. What are they telling you? And can we go to 5800? Absolutely. Could we plunge through this number? We've done it in the past, especially end of the day. Remember, second order Greeks have no effect. So watching net stat in the last 10, 15, 20 minutes is not going to be a good outcome for you if you're using it to time a signal. But just looking at where the centroids are, they will tell you a lot of what's going on in the overall market. Now, while I've been talking, let me we've had another print. Let me go ahead and grab the ValM print. And you can see it came just really, really close to the middle of the transactions. And it looks like we're starting to get a little bit of a bounce back up here. One thing to think about, remember, this is the center of the transactions right in this particular area here, right? So as price comes down to that area, these people, when they were placing their bets, they were placing them lower, out of the money puts, right? Out of the money puts have a delta, 5, 10, 15, 20, all negative, of course, so -5, -10, -15, etc. But when price comes down to where that area is stabilized or whatever, they're now at a 50 delta, right? These are -50 delta in puts. When do we see a lot of the transactions take place? When we hit those profit targets. When I go from a -5 to a -50 in a long put, I'm going to take that baby off the table. And if I do it in a large number, you can get bounces like this, right? Get some recoveries in there. Same thing here. Looks like we may have some speculation going on, whether it's to the upside. I haven't a clue, but I'm going to think, right, 58.56. I think these people are going to be very disappointed here today, but we'll see what happens. Are we going to race up there? I have no idea. Remember, deltas are collapsing now. Really, that distribution is getting really narrow, right? So think of the gamma distribution or the second order distribution as time goes to zero. Here, I'll just refresh this while we're talking. So in the big picture, we're below the Linfit line. That's a something that's almost unheard of in the SPX, by the way. We've had this huge shift of the channels between the put centroid down here and the call centroid here. Really change of sentiment in here. And it's very, very possible we could, end up down in this lower area. Are we going to be below the Linfit line? I have no clue, right? You don't know that, and this is really going to be a volumetric, volume activity type of driven thing. It's literally opening and closing deltas, especially this far down. Let's just pick today. It's especially this far down where there are no calls, so there's no panic. They aren't going to have any influence. Look at how tight the gamma distribution is right now. This is because as time goes to zero, and I've only got 6 minutes according to the clock on the wall here, as time goes to zero, there are no second order effects, right, to delta. And so basically, we're probably going to be, unless we get a lot of volume coming in from the market, the end of day sales for mutual funds, et cetera, and dealer adjustments and what they have to buy or sell from that perspective, we're not going to see a big move here. I think we're kind of there. Now, Friday was different. Friday was the end of month. We have a lot of money flows coming in on the end of the month. Today's not the end of the month. It's the beginning of the month, and we've had literally all day to absorb some of that volume. So, big picture, I wanted to just address the question, could we go to 58? Sure. It doesn't look like we're going to get there. It looks like I'm on a different screen right now. It looks like we made it all the way on down to 58.09 and change, something like that. Let's see here. If I can get up on top of this. Yeah, or 58.10.91 is the low that it said. It looks like that by my eyeball. That's about as low as we got. But the ValD spec really helped us understand that. So I would urge everyone, look at the ValD, scroll through this as necessary. You can look at the last, add a few, 2 or 3 in here just to get a sense of what the distribution's doing. When you learn how to use the tool and look for those distributions, that can be very, very useful and help guide what you're looking at. I see we're taking off now. We're at 58.42. Maybe we will rock it up we're over this area here. Who knows why this is happening though? With 4 minutes to go, running NetStat doesn't help you here. NetStat at this time of day, the second order Greeks of Charm, Gamma, and Vanna are irrelevant. All the deltas are limiting. They're either limiting to +1, 0, or -1. So that's really driven by what adjustments have to occur from a market perspective and a dealer flow perspective. So again, hopefully this is of use to you guys. If not, let me know. I think this is how I view how things are transacting during the afternoon hours, and how I answer some of the questions. How low can we go? It's a combination of tools. There is not going to be any one given tool because the markets are stochastic, which means they're kind of up to fear and greed and noise to really determine what's happening. And you just need to be able to cycle through the tools like I just did to form a thesis and then be able to play it. Obviously, I wasn't playing this into the close. We got 3 minutes now. When you see a change like this, if you're not positioned for a change, then you are chasing, and there is no edge in chasing. So I would just be very, very cautious about pursuing noise, especially at the end of the day, and especially in the last 15, 20 minutes of the market. It's really, really difficult to play because all your second order Greeks, really everything that we develop an edge on, are all vaporizing as we get into the close. All right, so if you got any questions, let me just check. Is there any point type of metric we can use to say the option market isn't the main consideration at the moment? Higher time frame or larger players are just simply selling there? Well, I think Goose, he's not listening. Shoot. Oh, yeah, there you are, the Goose. I think the short answer is in that last 15, 20 minutes of the day, there are market obligations for settlement, right, for getting the orders in. Also, because of the collapse of the second order Greeks, this is buying and selling of the constituent underlines and indices and things like that. So I don't think options actually drive it, although there is speculation, right? I do know a group out there that speculates only in the last 30 minutes or so of the day. I have no comment on their win-loss record, although I see some of them getting their butt handed to them time and time again, and they advocate themselves as being zero DTE folks. So I think the short answer to the goose is there is not a single tool that will give you the definitive answer. I do think the CT response, and just look, by the way, the CT's filtered cumulative tick right here is flat, right? There is no urgency from the big players with this end of day stuff. Just be aware of that, right? So from that perspective, we're not really seeing a lot of movement here. I think watching the intraday volume, I've learned the hard way. I need to be out of my option trades by about 3:45 New York time because it turns into the Wild West beyond that. So I know that's a less than satisfying answer to some of you, but really holding into the close, even though it's cash settled, is not a recommended thing. And by the way, just, I know we're at 4 o'clock here, so the market is ringing the bell somewhere. You can see that we linear down on the ARCX in this afternoon session with just a little bit of stabilization here at the bottom, at the very, very bottom. It looks like we got 1551 or 1552 was the time frame that the market may have tried to come back into its own. Let's see, 1551 would have been right about here. Yeah, it's hard to tell. I don't think there's a lot to be gleaned trying to squeeze this a little bit of juice out of the orange here. So, all right, folks. Well, I hope folks did a good job today. I hope nobody got on the bad side of things, and look forward to doing this again tomorrow. So thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Yeah, Goose, you're welcome. My pleasure.